Happy days. Welcome everybody to this very special catch-up, cartoon catch-up. Today we're catching up with a really famous impersonator. He's a great friend of mine. But before we start, I just want to talk a little bit about identity. As we grow up, we look to different people, we look to different things to try to form our own identity. I know for me, when I was growing up, I loved the movie Ghostbusters, and if you can see, there's Peter Venkman behind me. When I was growing up, all I ever wanted to be was Peter Venkman. He was funny. He did one-liners that were funny. He was quirky. I forever wanted to be Bill Murray. Bill Murray for me is the pinnacle. I love the man. And then as I grew on, I started watching Friends. I wanted to be Chandler Bing because, again, he had his one-liners, his wisecracks and stuff like that. But I always looked external. It's like I was trying to copy stuff and bring that in and make that a part of me and copy other people. But where did I sit? Where does my identity come from? Who is Nick Love anyway? Who are we anyway? Where do we get that from? I know a large part of my identity comes from my parents. My dad was an amazing man of God. He believed that in that, and that's where I got my faith from. He was so sick, but he had so much strength because he believed in something more powerful than he was, which is super cool. So today's cartoon catch-up, we're going to catch up with a guy. It must be really hard to find this guy's identity because he copies like a million people a day, and that's his job. So we're going to welcome the amazing Ben Price.
Hey Nick, you've took me up, mate.
Oh, mate, you are pretty famous. Look, I apologise in advance. This isn't the Today Show or the Kids WB, and you've been on shows in America and stuff like that. But we did go a long way back. I remember, I think I was 15 when we first caught up, and we were going to a big Christian conference in Sydney called Wonderfest, and the amazing DC Talk were playing at the time.
They were.
And I remember one of the girls at the time had a teddy that they called Steady Teddy, and you made up a voice for this teddy and brought that teddy to life. And this was way before that movie Ted, thank goodness. It was all clean comedy. Well done. Very hard to do these days. So before I start, mate, it's great to catch up with you. Cool. We caught up at one of your gigs, and I think it was Alinda, and then just recently the family watched one of your gigs on Zoom, which for people in isolation, I haven't seen my kids laugh so much in such a long time. So especially my daughter Tali, who's 14, she's a social person, and she watched you and just was in hysterics. So thanks for that.
That's a good thing about Zoom is you can just connect with everybody, and with that show you could sort of have everybody come along, and a lot of kids got to see it because a lot of parents they'll usually get them babysat, but then it's like this is open for everybody to watch. They make noise, I don't hear it.
That's it. Before I start, I'll fire up the draw sword and start drawing you. How's COVID been for you? Because you're obviously a comedian that performs to different. I know that you used to do cruise ships. You're not on the Ruby Princess at the minute, thank goodness.
No, I'd be rocking like this.
How's life looking for you?
Well, we've got a similar job, mate. We copy people, right? You draw them, and I imitate them. So they kind of go together in a sense. But for me, I was doing a lot of cruise ships at the beginning of this year. And when in March, I think it was I had a gig scheduled for about the 10th of March, and that got cancelled. And I remember thinking, oh, well, that's not good. And then they all just one by one fell like dominoes. And suddenly I remember almost laughing, going, it's nothing. Rather than panic, I thought, well, this is not my fault. Something's got to happen here. Like, I have to live, And I thought, what the heck am I going to do? So for a couple of months, I really didn't know what was happening. But thankfully, and you talked about having faith, and I've got faith in God. My faith was tested big time, where I prayed a lot more than I was, and thankfully, even though I've gone through a trial, I've been able to make it work where I'm doing a bunch of Zoom events and videos for people online. So it's been all right lately, but it's still very different. Not knowing, almost very month by month.
Necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it? It's like I know for me that this year was probably one of the most successful years I was going to have as a cartoonist. Like, it's always been my dream to cartoon. And one of the things I love about you is that I remember sitting in like a Pizza Hut when we went on that trip, and you were doing your voices of the commentary team, going, this guy, Richie Benno and all that. I've gone, here's a guy that has got a mad talent like I've done, and you've followed that through, and you've been full time for the last 20 years. So this year for me, I was starting to really push into my cartooning, and I had Bunnings' booked. I had different things booked. Things are going cocoa bananas, and then COVID hit, and all that went. And not a thing. So not a lot of money was coming in from the cartooning side of things. But then you start to develop different things, and then doing this Saturday morning session, with kids, where I just get them to name something to draw, and I draw it live and give out show bags. I'm meeting heaps of kids and encouraging them. And the one thing I hear the most with kids, they're going, I can't draw. I can't draw. I've gone, well, and this is after they've just won a show bag. Clearly, I think you can draw. How do you balance? And I'll keep drawing you in a sec. How do you balance? Like, for me, I believe like cartooning is a gift from God, and like any good gift, you've got to share it. How then do you put a price tag on that gift to make yourself a wage out of it?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I mean, sometimes you even wonder that, just because you go, I just would do this anyway, and I amaze myself that I get paid for it, and think, wow, that's incredible. And but the gospel to me is something that's free, and I kind of know the distinction between that and doing what I do as comedy. But there are certain times where those things go together.
It's weird, doesn't it?
You've got to look after someone, but you also have to be aware of, I don't want to charge extra because I'm sharing a message. That's something that people can certainly pay you for that. People should be paid, and supported, but that's more a means of just supporting someone because they need to live, not so much something I would really look at and go, well, let's cash in on this. I'd rather have my business and then have a ministry, if you like. Even though, you've got to have the wisdom to know how to balance the two.
I think I come to that point recently that I've gone with the slogan, your commission funds the vision. That by investing in me and paying for my cartoons and paying for my services, you're actually investing in something greater than that picture. You're actually investing in a bigger picture, if you will. And then that helps fund your life, because if you can't feed your kids, you're not going to be a great dad. And if you're not a great dad, you got to set that foundation. You got to look after. One of the greatest things, a kids ministry, but one of the greatest advice someone ever gave me was, your kids ministry has got to start at home. That if you can't look after your own house, how then do you go? You can't leave your front door open if your back doors. You can't go out your front door if your back door's open. If that makes sense.
Good that's 100%, and that's biblical too. It's like, make sure your household's in order. It talks about that in Timothy, and you've got to.
I'm not questioning anybody's calling by any stretch, but I've always questioned those people that would leave their children behind and go to Uganda to help the orphans, but by leaving their kids behind, fundamentally leaving without a parent. So you're kind of making that problem anyway.
No, I'm with you on that one 100% because I'm like, well, if I'm going there, they're coming with me. They're a part of me. You know?
Yeah.
And they've been very specific. Few people that have made it work really well, but they've neglected that. Yeah, I struggle with that as well. It's an interesting one. I always think, yeah, do it well at home first, and yeah, that can be something critical.
I think in Godland, there's all there can be egos as well, because sometimes even in that environment, you can put yourself first, and you want to be the best at what you're doing, but you're not actually putting the core reason of relationships with people first.
You're already off on the wrong foot there if you're doing it for selfish reasons. Yeah,
100%.
Oh yeah, that's I mean, I say to people, if this isn't God, then for certain things that I've wanted to do, I think it's too big a mountain to push and move on my own. I'm not going to attempt to try and move it.
Always my biggest issue. I try to. What is a Nick idea and what's a God idea? Because I'm pretty out there anyway, right? So, and God gives out their ideas as well. So, how do you define what's a Nick idea and what's a God idea?
I've had Nick ideas before.
Yeah.
I was going to say to you before I forget, when you said Pizza Hut, maybe I'm getting hungry. I'm like, Pizza Hut. But I totally remember that trip because I think that was the $5 all-you-can-eat pizza we got on the way back.
100%, because none of us had money.
None of us had. I was 19 at the time. I was a little bit old. So you're 15. I remember very distinctly, and I think I used this in my comedy because we were joking around, like you said, doing all the Richie Benno and Teddy Gregg and all those voices back then. And we were having so much fun laughing. And I don't know what the Teddy voice was. I vaguely remember that. And then I think I said something quite serious to you, like do you know where the toilets are? Or something like that. I don't know what it was. And you thought I was continuing with the funny stuff. And you went, I don't get it, man. And I said, no, I need to go. I need to. And I don't know if you remember that, but I remember using that in my comedy like way back then. So you just triggered a memory for me. So that was funny.
I'm here to help.
It was a fun trip.
All right. Well, now we draw.
Hey, I hope we don't lose the connection. Imagine if I freeze up and I'm like that, and then that's how the cartoon comes out.
It'd probably help, to be honest.
It probably would help. Would it help if I just pose and go?
Well, we've got all of two people watching.
My face looks backwards looking in this, so but I'm sure it'll give a much better. It's weird.
I've just gone through 12 months without my dad, who was like my rock, and he was my personal Yoda. And like I said in the intro, he's the one that I saw faith in action. It's easy to be someone who believes in God when it's all fluffy bunnies and muffins, and everything's rosy and everything's sweet. Yeah. But he was the guy that was meant to die as a baby, right? And he always struggled through life. But he always. I remember one time coming home from school, and he was sick as a dog, but he was in his bedroom reading the Bible. And I could always remember when the chips were down, he always got back into the word. How old were you when you lost your dad?
Oh, so let me think. So it would have been. I'm not good with maths. 3 types of people: those that can count, those that can't. Let me think. I was about 37, maybe, because it was 2012, so 8 years ago, and that's just fine. I can't believe how quick that's gone. But and so I'm 45 now. Yeah, that's about right. 37 years of age, and it's tough. I still miss him a lot. And
so would you credit
still around? Yeah.
Would you credit a lot of your identity from your dad? Like, is there things that you think back on now and go, "Oh, that's just dad"?
Yeah, a lot of my comedy, definitely. Yeah. A lot of the not the impersonations as such, but the stage performance, and he would often have one-liner gags. Yeah, I think he would appreciate some of the one-liners that I've used lately. Because he used to do a lot of radio and that. and spiritually, it really came from Mum. So, and yeah, she was the one that had. But thankfully, that's awesome. You had your dad as a faith role model. I didn't have that until just at the end of his life. So the last 6-7 months before he passed away, he really came back to faith, which was amazing.
Yeah. So that's got to be heartening. I find it really tough too because like I said, he was meant to pass away as a baby. So every single day you got was a blessing. But I got him till I was 40, right? But you still feel ripped off, right? Like this guy was just so wise, and every time you have a question or you'd want to unpack something, you'd go to Dad, and he'd come up with something that made sense, and you go, "Oh, fantastic!" I remember, I believe without a shadow of a doubt that Dad's in heaven, and it's all well and good, and then we'll get to catch up one day. But I remember seeing just not long after he passed a dead wombat on the side of the road, right? Yeah. And I just had that because I'm a visual person, that mental picture of the other wombats coming around him and going, at least he made it to the other side of the road.
Right.
Like, his goal was to get to the other side of the road, and now he's gone. Like, that's all well and good for the wombat, but that's no good for us, the people that are left behind. So he's gone to glory. He's on the other side of the road, but we're all left behind.
Oh, yeah. And they're in a good place where it's like, don't be sad. It's great. Oh, if you only knew. They're just going on a permanent holiday in isolation, lockdown number 5 or something like that. It's like, I often think, I wish you could just sometimes text, sometimes if I'm driving back home from a gig, although that doesn't happen anymore. But, I used to, particularly I would call my dad on the phone.
You can drive back at 5Ks, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And if I was doing a performance out the front of someone's driveway with a mask on, maybe. But I remember driving back from
new angle, driveway comedy.
That's a thing. I've seen it. A friend of mine does that in Canada. He's done some driveway comedy, it may have to start happening here. Let's get it. I do want to do a drive-in show where people are all in their cars and I'm on a stage. That would be fun.
Sensational.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We've finished the cartoon. I apologize in advance. I'm not Arndo. The working title for the catch-up was going to be called the Arndo Rip-Off Show. That's what I've gone with the cartoon catch-up. Here we have.
Oh, yeah.
Mike.
That's not too bad. That I was worried, actually. That's really cool.
They both.
That's really cool. And it's like the microphone's like the world. And
that's a good idea. I'll put Australia on it.
Oh, you could, because I'm worldwide now. See, this is the thing. I get people watched my show from the UK, from Malaysia, from Sri Lanka, from all around the US and Canada and New Zealand. It was amazing. So that's it. That's some silver lining in this.
There we go. We've got Australia and the world in there.
Hey.
I've got to go you got to go the opposite way to the way that you want to go on camera.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. I don't mind that. Yeah.
All right. To finish up.
Caricatures. Is it caricatures? How do you say caricatures? A hard one.
Well, I call it a Nick Love cartoon because here's the thing. I never used to do live cartooning. Like it's only the last 5 years that because everything had to be perfect, right? And then they had to go back into the computer. I had to vectorize it, kind of like the cartoon. Oh, over there, wrong other way, Nick. It's like backing a trailer.
Yeah, I'm pointing that way, and it's going that way.
See the cartoon behind me. Everything had to be perfect, vectorized and cleaned and stuff. It wasn't until I did a gig at my kid's school where I just set up Nick's Draw Store and I did $2 cartoons. And these kids were laughing and they were going, can you draw the teddy that I've just brought? I drew that and they were laughing. And I thought, here's these pictures that I thought were terrible and people are getting joy out of it. So I started doing caricatures. So they're caricatures, but what I call them is Nick Love cartoon because if they don't look like you, I can still guarantee you it's a Nick Love cartoon. So I've kind of taken that self-doubt away from it because everything I do is a Nick Love cartoon. So you get what you pay for.
Oh, mate, it's awesome, mate. You were doing it back then too when I first met you, right?
Yeah, so I was
I think on the tablecloth, and I remember.
Yeah, it's like a disease. It's been an obsession for a long time. And now I design car wraps at Glenbrae Signs, the greatest sign company in the world, and I get to do my superpower stuff on the side. So I've got an awesome balance to my life, which is really cool. I remember there was one joke
Cool.
that I think to close out our catch up, we have to showcase your talent. You know, you've just seen. I've done my bit. You used to do this where you did a joke where you used to do like a promo of the Bible, but as a movie, and you had different characters promo that movie. So without further ado, Ben Price, I give it up for the man that is the legend.
Can I just tell you? I used to do that. That was like the Bible as a movie, and I've kind of done a little bit of a remake of that where it's like the disciples, and I haven't done that for a little while. So you put me on the spot, but I'll give it a shot.
Do you want the full screen? Get my mug out of the way. How do I do that?
Oh no, you can be in it, man. I want to.
I'll be the audience. I'll
some response. Yeah, no, you stay there. That's fine. But this is the story of one man who got together with 12 ordinary men who turned the world upside down. Starring Russell Crowe as Simon Peter. I was in the Garden of Gethsemane. We're all asleep, and there was a great commotion. The soldiers came out. I didn't know what was going on. I got my sword out. I cut the ear off one of the soldiers. I knew it was the wrong thing to do. I apologized to the guy. He wouldn't listen. He couldn't listen. Tom Cruise as Thomas. Woo! So sad. You're telling me he's alive? No. Wait, no. Help me. Help. Show me the nail marks. Then I'll believe. Woo! Christopher Walken as Pontius Pilate. Excuse me. Hello. They say you're the king of the Jews. They say you're not. I know. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. I know. I'm going to go wash my hands. All right. Owen Wilson. I had to think that. As John. Wow. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, he's alive. This is, wow, local crazy. Come on, we got to tell everybody about it. It's so exciting. Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. Homer Simpson as Judas. No, what have I done? I stole myself with 30 pieces of silver. What was I thinking? Silver, maybe 30 donuts, but not silver. Come on. Shrek and Donkey as the other disciples. Oh, well, I guess it's back to fishing now. It was fun while it lasted. Come on. Oh, man, what are you talking about, man? Jesus is alive, man. You know, Friday. He died. I was alone. I was upset, but now it's Sunday. He's risen. Man, this is the happiest day of my life, man. I'm so excited. Jesus is risen. Yeah. And somewhere in there, I had Arnold Schwarzenegger as one of the disciples. Where it's like, don't worry that he died. You know, it was all upset, but trust me, he'll be back. This is the story of Jesus who died, rose again, and is coming soon. So,
what a brilliant way to finish on. If you can't finish on that note, what can you finish on?
Exactly, mate. And I couldn't remember that, but that was a good one to dust off because I don't know if I've done that since all of this craziness in 2020. But it's I think, you know, you and I know this, that for those that love God, all things work together for good. And I honestly think, you know, God's going to be able to use this for his purpose and his glory, and it's good to be a part of it.
Amen. Well, thanks for catching up, Ben. I'd really appreciate it. I'll get this in the mail to you, mate, and I'll post it.
We get a screening or a selfie, like you and I, with that as well.
I don't know how to do that.
Now, let me do it. We just got to get the pose right, man. There we go. We ready? I'll send it to you. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Happy days.
Wow.
Oh, well, keep entertaining people. Keep doing what you do, mate. You do it so fantastically, and you're helping people draw a better tomorrow by using your gifts.
I'm drawing near to you, and God draws near to us.
Yeah, it's in James somewhere.
It is definitely in James 4.
Yeah, that's right. That's favorite book of the Bible, and my favorite number is the number 4. Yeah.
Is it really?
And my son's book is also James. Happy days. Little known fact.
That is very cool.
And he also was a very good football player in James Heard.
He was indeed. You're a massive Essendon fan.
I am. Maybe not a great coach, but he was definitely a very good footy player.
Yeah. And this season, I'm a North Melbourne supporter, so football hasn't been.
Can't have everything.
Can't have everything. Where would you put it?
That's right. Oh, mate, fun to catch up, and maybe join us for the next cartoon catch up.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I'll see if we can change my face. See if
yeah. See you, man.
Like this. All right. Thanks, mate.